Picture this. You're standing in a garden where every leaf shimmers with divine light. The air itself hums with sacred energy. And then, footsteps. Not human footsteps, but something far more profound. The creator of all existence is walking toward you, wanting nothing more than to share the evening breeze in conversation. This was reality once. Not metaphor, not symbol, reality. But when did you last hear those footsteps? When did the mountains last tremble at his voice? When did fire last descend from heaven to consume an altar? The silence is deafening, isn't it? Today we embark on a journey into one of the most haunting mysteries of human existence. Why did God stop appearing? The answer will shatter everything you think you know about divine presence. There was a time when the boundary between heaven and earth was thin as morning mist. God didn't hide behind theological concepts or church doctrines. He walked, he spoke, he appeared. In Eden's perfect light, Adam and Eve heard the sound of the Lord God walking in the garden during the cool of the day. The Hebrew word used here, halak, suggests a leisurely stroll back and forth, as if God himself was savoring these moments of intimate fellowship. This wasn't some distant, untouchable deity. This was the Almighty choosing to be present. But then came the fall, and with it a silence that has echoed through millennia. Yet even in that broken world, God couldn't stay away. He appeared to Abraham as three mysterious visitors, sharing a meal under desert oaks. He wrestled with Jacob through the long, dark night until dawn broke over a man forever changed. He descended upon Mount Sinai with such terrifying glory that the very ground convulsed beneath his presence. These weren't dreams or visions. These were theophanies, moments when the infinite deliberately made himself finite, when the invisible chose to be seen. Think about the pattern hidden in these appearances. Each one came at a crucial moment in human history. Each one carried a message too important to whisper from the shadows. At Sinai, when God's presence descended in fire and smoke, the people of Israel experienced something beyond human comprehension. Lightning split the darkness. Thunder rolled like the voice of eternity itself. The mountain didn't just shake. It writhed as if the earth itself was overwhelmed by divine glory. But here's what's haunting. Instead of drawing closer, the people recoiled in terror. They begged Moses to speak for them because they knew with bone-deep certainty that mortal flesh cannot endure the fullness of divine presence and survive. So God, in his infinite mercy, established a system of separation. The tabernacle, the temple, the Holy of Holies, where his presence dwelt behind a veil so thick it required multiple layers. Only one man, once a year, could enter that sacred space. And even then, only after elaborate rituals of purification and atonement. The message was clear. God longed to be near his people, but sin had created a chasm that threatened to consume anyone who dared cross it. But then came the moment that changed everything, the greatest theophany in human history. Not fire from heaven or earthquakes or cosmic displays of power, something far more radical, far more dangerous. God became one of us. The Word became flesh and made his dwelling among us. For 33 years, the creator of galaxies walked dusty Palestinian roads. The hands that had shaped mountains now kneaded bread. The voice that had spoken light into existence now told stories to children. The one who dwells in unapproachable light now wept at a friend's grave. Jesus wasn't just another prophet or teacher. He was God in human skin. For the first time since Eden, humanity could look into the face of the divine and live. They could touch him, eat with him, argue with him, even deny him. But this ultimate appearance came with an ultimate purpose. Jesus didn't just come to visit. He came to tear down the veil that had separated humanity from God for millennia. On the cross, as he bore the weight of all human sin, that thick temple curtain ripped from top to bottom, not by human hands, but by divine initiative. The barrier was gone. The separation was over. The way to God was open. After his resurrection, Jesus spent 40 days appearing to his disciples, proving that death itself had been conquered. But then came his ascension, and with it, what seemed like the end of divine appearances. Had God withdrawn again? Had he grown tired of humanity's failures? The answer is found in his parting words, "It is for your good that I am going away. Unless I go away, the Advocate will not come to you." Something unprecedented was about to happen, something that would make every previous appearance pale in comparison. At Pentecost, God's presence didn't just visit. It took up permanent residence. Not in temples made with hands, but in human hearts. The fire that once consumed mountains now rested gently on individual believers. The glory that once required thick veils now dwelt within fragile human vessels. This is why the appearances stopped, not because God had abandoned us, but because he had found a way to be closer than ever before, no longer external, no longer occasional, no longer limited to specific places or people. He moved from appearing outside us to living inside us. But here's the profound mystery that most miss. We now walk by faith, not by sight. And this isn't a consolation prize. It's the ultimate expression of divine love. Think about it. If God appeared to you visibly right now, would you have any choice but to believe? Would your faith be faith, or would it be mere recognition? The invisible presence of God requires something far more precious than acknowledgement. It requires trust. Every day, millions of believers across the globe carry the living presence of God within them. In secret prayer rooms in China, in cathedrals across Europe, in tiny churches in rural America, in the hearts of the persecuted and the forgotten. God's presence isn't confined to one mountain or one nation. It's global, intimate, and personal. Yet the story isn't over. The same Jesus who ascended into heaven made a promise that echoes through eternity. "I will come again." One day, faith will give way to sight. One day every eye will see him, not as a humble carpenter's son, but as the King of Kings, clothed in glory that makes the burning bush look like a flickering candle. Look, he is coming with the clouds, and every eye will see him. For some, his appearance will bring unspeakable joy. For others, overwhelming terror. The question isn't whether he will appear again. The question is, will you be ready? So why did God stop appearing? The truth is breathtaking. He didn't stop, he just changed how he reveals himself. He's closer now than when he walked in Eden's garden, closer than when he spoke from Sinai's fire, closer than when he broke bread with his disciples. He's as close as your next breath, as near as your next heartbeat. Maybe the reason we don't see God isn't because he's absent. Maybe it's because we're looking in the wrong places. We expect burning bushes and parted seas, but more often he comes in the whisper of conscience, the touch of compassion, the stirring of hope in hopeless places. The Lord is close to the broken-hearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. In this age of faith, we're invited into something more intimate than any visible appearance could offer. We're invited to carry his presence, to be his hands and feet, to be living temples of the Most High. But remember, this age of faith is temporary. One day the longing of every human heart will be satisfied. One day those who have walked by faith will behold him face to face. The question that will determine eternity itself is this: when that day comes, will his face bring you unspeakable joy or overwhelming fear? Now is the time of God's favor. Now is the day of salvation. He hasn't stopped appearing. He's waiting for you to recognize that he's been there all along. All it takes is a seeking heart to find him. What do you think? Has God stopped appearing, or have we stopped looking? Share your thoughts below, and let's explore this mystery together.